Right, everything's working. Got my cordless mic on, and that's working too, isn't it? Holy cow. All professional and shit. Now the wind's starting to scream here. There's a big forest fire busted out between here and home and the main road that feeds this small town out here where we are at Bamfield on the west coast of the island. And the road's shut down. So there's a whole pile of fishing charters are getting canceled. The hotel, there's a lot of places to stay out here, but the hotel out here shut down, told everybody they can't come out and stay. They used to have a generator. And the store's got a generator, it's still going, but there's one other logging road route you can take to the couch and lake, but people are freaking out. But the forest fire is preventing me from being able to drive home. And Sarah has to fly out on Friday. I have to do a one-day fishing trip on Monday. Got to take care of the animals at home somehow and figure it out. But anyway, I show you the pictures of the fire here. It looks pretty dramatic, but in reality, there's one small hill of timber compared to a lot of acres. It's surrounded by logged-off areas, so it's not really going to go very far. But anyways, I guess it burnt down half a dozen power poles or more that feeds this town. They don't expect any power to be out here anytime soon, that's for sure. So anyway, I untied from the dock and I went around to this little sheltered bay and I threw the anchor out. The wind's starting to rip. It was dead flat calm and so hot the last handful of days. And now it's gone cold and chilly and windy. You can hear the wind probably. I don't know if you can or not, but it's ripping around. So I'm going to sit back, have my coffee, and see what we got going on. I already checked my emails this morning, and I got a whole stack fresh off the frying pan here. So we're going to get into them right away, all right? That thing recording? I think it is. Hope you don't get seasick from what's going on behind me here. Now, what do we got going on? I think I'm going to the woods this afternoon and throw some trail cameras out for elk after I do this. And see what's going to happen with the next day's fishing. Now, what do we got? This is red. Sasquatch, friend or foe? Question mark. Dear Steve, hello. First of all, thank you for being a voice for the people. It's always good. It's always a good time and a step forward when the truth is shared, as it is here. We're all very much respectfully and honor your time and efforts to speak with us daily. Anyway, my name is Tammy L. You can say my name. And I'm from Southwest Colorado, Durango area. Appreciate the kind words, Tammy. Surrounded by 12 to 14,000 foot peaks. Beautiful. Lots of high mountain alpine. Forests and lakes, home of the $1 Million Highway and Mining and Durango and Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad. This is all in caps lock, weirdly, the whole thing. Gotta ride this one as a step back in time and step back in mountains there, with no roads. Truly the Swiss Alps, the America. Sorry, I digress onward. There's a mountain range just about 10 miles west of Durango, the La Platas. Lots of old gold mines there and Sasquatch. An acquaintance of mine there used to live up in the La Platas, as her family had a house there, and it was back in the 1900s. Couple typos I'll make it smooth as I can. Had a house there, and it was back in the 1990s when there wasn't even a handful of houses. Just a small Amish community at the mouth of the canyon that leads to the mines and the mountains. Said friend said in the 1980s her and her sister were still in elementary or primary school. They had a golden retriever dog who had free run of the ranch. Sorry. One day the girl and her sister were out playing with the dog, who liked jumping the small 4-foot-long fence and hiding his toys there. It would wait for the girls to find him and his toys. This day, The girl saw her dog jump the fence, and she went and laid down on the grass on the opposite side and was going to surprise the dog. So she reached in between a space in the fence. There's a crisscross short log boundary fence, petted her dog. She thought, until she heard her dog barking behind her, and realized she wasn't petting a dog or bear, but a juvenile Sasquatch. Because when the dog barked, it stood up around 5 feet tall and looked right at her, and then slowly walked into the tree line. For years, she and her sister always felt like they weren't alone, whenever they were outside, which is and was pure forest. They never told her parents because she didn't want to hear her dad try to shoot it, and it had been years since the fence incident. Although she and her sister caught glimpses of the Sasquatch there for years, she never saw him face to face until years later. She just graduated high school and had gotten a new Ford Mustang, her dream car. It was end of May, but in southwest Colorado, it can still be snow at higher altitudes, sometimes all year. The snow had been heavy and was still melting off with lots of snow drift and ice and snow in the La Plata River that runs the whole valley. So, late graduation night, her and her friend, every time you spell and, you do the and sign, and it's tight to the previous and following words, so it's screwing me up. Sorry. So late graduation night, her and her friend, a girl from school, decided to take a short spin up the road and have a couple sips of wine, maybe a little smoke, and watch the stars. A celebration of graduation. So up the road from their house, the road gets steeper and goes by campsites. So they decided to pull into one, not realizing the road that looked dry wasn't. Plus it was dark around midnight, so they pulled in on the circular road but got too close to a shallow part of the river, which was a small creek higher up where they were, and got blatantly stuck in the frozen mud ice creek. No amount of spinning her tire did any good, and she knew if she got stuck any worse, she was already unable to get out. That her dad was going to be pissed about where they were with the new car at night, alone, etc. In the snow, melt off, etc. So her and her friend decided to wait it out till morning and then walk out and get help in the morning. So she had brought blankets and had a full tank of gas, so she knew they would freeze at least. This is about 2 a.m. They must have fallen asleep because at around 4 to 4:30 a.m. they both woke with a start. Probably been startled because the whole back end of her car was being lifted and pushed back up on the little circular dirt camp road. About a 15-foot curve, not much. At first they thought it was her dad and that he'd found them, but when they looked, all they saw was a 8 to 9 foot tall hairy man. They said, covered in dark cinnamon brown long hair, except for the face, which was a light skin tone and looked human. It was a full moon night, so they could see him in the rearview mirror. As soon as they were back on the road, he was gone, up the slope with a couple of steps. She always told my friend that he must have been the juvenile one that her and her sister played with in the yard as kids. So, every Sasquatch is different, I think, like people. Some friend, some foe. I also had a non-aggressive Sasquatch family habitation here for 17 years on my parents' property, just in Horse Gulch. There, not in the La Plata Mountains, but in Durango, but on the southern edge of another smaller mountain range. They are called Raiders Ridge. You can Google these places and look at the terrain. If you'd like another lengthy book-like email in the future, I'd be happy to share our Bigfoot encounters on our property there. It was peaceful, and we respected their space. Thank you, Steve, for reading the short book, but it was detailed to explain. Thanks you very much. Very, very much, and God bless. Sincerely, Tammy L. Holy shit, Tammy, that's a crazy bunch of experiences. I'll mark you as to look into, and maybe, who knows, maybe you want to come on and just talk with me in person online and instead of typing it out. And you can share with the whole gang in one go what went down. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? If you want. Or not. Or email it in. That works too. Crazy, huh? So many amazing things going on around us. I really appreciate you sending that in. And yeah, we want to hear it all. We want to hear it all. Who's next? We got another long one. Not too long, but it seems might be long. Hold on a minute here. Mark is red. Finding the Forest People is the title of this email. Hello, Steve. Big cat guy here. Big cat guy. Hope you and yours are thriving and enjoying life. I hope you are too, my man. After watching several of your videos and reading some of the replies in the comments section regarding the desire to find and verify the existence of the Forest People, I felt the need to send in my own thoughts regarding that issue, especially with the experience I had. Make sure my anchor's not come off the bottom here. Is it? Oh, it's spinning pretty good. Nope, I'm still attached. Still attached to the bottom. First off, I believe anyone who has indeed been in the presence of one of these people, including myself, would laugh and scoff at these individuals who dedicate their life to verifying the existence of these people. I believe the fact is that your chances of actually coming in contact with these people would be in the neighborhood of slim to none if you're wandering around in the forest, banging on trees, leaving scent bags, hanging on bushes, leaving food out for them, or screaming like a molested pig. Place yourself in their position. You're out there foraging for food, or you and your family, or you're just out for a walk to check out the neighborhood, and some idiot starts screaming and beating on a tree with a club. Are you going to take your children down there to see them? You don't know if they're armed or not. Would you want to take that chance? My guess would be an emphatic no. Maybe you underestimate their level of intelligence. It just might be at a higher level than yours, especially regarding the abilities these people seem to possess. Maybe it's time to treat them as such instead of regarding them as some form of ape. Secondly, I'd like to talk about these rumors of, quote, hunter/killer, end quote, teams that are supposedly in the process of exterminating these people. Personally, I don't believe this for 1 second. And again, look at the abilities these people possess: strength and speed, the ability to disappear into thin air. Even with night vision, you can see them, and they can see you. They saw someone looking at them with night vision over a mile in that one report. Given all this, how are even the most elite forces going to sneak up on or ambush any of these people? I'm sure people will argue that, well, other people have shot and killed them. All right then, why? If some of these people are in fact committing violent crimes against humans, then why aren't we being made aware of it? My guess is that, like us, they have their own collection of bad apples. But let's look at it from this perspective. You, or one of your family, gets shot at by a group of individuals, would you not tend to be a little less socially acceptable in their presence? Especially if they had killed a family member? Any group of individuals actually hunting these people are at a distinct disadvantage, and in my opinion, severely underpaid. Oh, boy. A little rocky here. Crazy. Lastly, I would add, I believe we need to understand that these forest people aren't that much different than us. Who are we to say that they do not have moral standards, feelings that run right alongside our very own, and probably most important of all, a will to survive? And who are we to say they can't? If the government is indeed withholding the information of their existence, and the evidence is fairly blatant, then why? Is it for our own good? Like those vaccinations, right? Maybe it would go against the religious beliefs of the majority of the planet, and they don't want to see the bedrock of the majority of the world's population in regard to who created what, when, how, and why come crumbling down. Are they afraid that it's better to keep us in the dark and to continue to lie and hide facts about these people? My guess is we will never know. They have too much to lose if everyone finds out they've been covering it up for hundreds of years. They seem to believe that the indigenous people will continue to be looked upon as believers of myths and fantasies, that the majority of the world will not believe anything they say, and that is a very sad thing when you discredit an entire race to maintain a lie. Why shouldn't we get to decide how we should handle the information, and who is making that decision for us? I'd like to meet them, look them in the eye, and see if they show the same compassion as the Sabe who saved my ass from that big cat all those years ago. Here the forest people just want to be left alone, maybe. I do know one thing. You won't learn anything by keeping your mouth shut and your ears covered up. Maybe we'll get lucky soon. Don't quit. Don't ever give up. Thanks for everything, Steve. You've gotten us started in the right direction. Get some rest and then go fishing. Appreciate that kind email, man. Big time. Lots to think about there, right? The wheels are turning. Holy crap, I'm only in 6 feet of water. 5? What? 4? Come on. 3. What's going on here? Trim this motor up. 4 feet. 5. And I'm right on top of a pinnacle here. Hold on a minute, you guys. Short here, or where am I? Oh, I'm right on the edge of this little bump in the bottom. Alright, alright. I'm alright. 5 feet of water underneath my boat. Sorry for the interruption. Hold on a minute. Keep that screen there, keep an eye on it. I'm okay. I'm okay. Yeah. I think it's safe to say by now, listening to everybody and what we know, especially for everyone who's looking in all directions, not just about these people that are here sometimes in the forest around us. We've been lied to about everything. And yeah, this is one topic that I find that's the easiest to deliver to the masses. The easiest one to deliver to the masses that we've been lied to about a lot. As far as the VAXs go, whether you have your head in the ground or not, the was it? Vice CEO, second in command for Pfizer, just came out publicly to admit that the VAXs were actually absolutely used to clean up a lot of humans off the planet. As the majority of us all sit here and look at all the receipts that come along with that and go, oh wow, crazy, instead of going to the homes of the people responsible and ripping them out of their homes and hanging them in the streets. Right? Anyway, I'll bite my lip. On that topic, I just saw a study that yesterday came out. Over 15 million people have died globally. Direct result of the VAXs. All right, I won't get on that topic, but you know what I'm talking about. All of you who can think for yourself and spend your time looking into things yourself. Anyway, everything you said in your email, you said smoothly, and I can't. There's not much I can say to help everyone understand what you said. Sorry, guys. I'm all over the map. I'm like, okay, I gotta read this one. I'm just looking at that. Okay, who's next? Appreciate that email, big time. Take from it what you will or leave it, you guys. This is titled, there's no title. From a native family here in Oklahoma. Mom and siblings were half white, half Sac and Fox. SAC and sign Fox. Sac and Fox. One thing we were all raised with was that you don't whistle after dark. It was the law. But our generation thought we were pulling our leg. But our generation thought they were pulling our leg. One thing about natives is they loved to tease and laugh, but they didn't laugh about this. So I started asking the relatives, left, and no one knew, but I did find a Seminole woman who promptly responded with, "You don't want a return whistle." If I'd have known that, I would have freaked, because not only am I scared of the dark, but I'm a pretty good chickenitis in general. I love your videos, and Mom and I saw Sasquatch one dark moonless night. I was driving. I thought I'd almost hit a man walking on the country road. And after I recovered a bit, Mom wanted to go back and look, and I said, no. Don't you know the dumb blonde always gets eaten by the monsters in the movies? Mom was laughing, but I sure wasn't. I miss my Ma, and now I wish we would have went back. End of email. I was driving and thought I almost hit a man. Okay, you didn't hit it. Gotcha. Appreciate it. We've been warned about the whistles more than once, especially following in and going into the woods when we think of family members in there talking to us, but meanwhile they're in the house behind us. Stupid fly. Gotcha, you little bastard. What do we got here? This was a screenshot sent to me. Mark it as read. Not my story. Something a Native American guy posted a while ago, but it's some of the creepiest shit I've ever heard. My dad picks me up from school in his pickup truck after he got off work one winter's night. We're driving on a long stretch of road that goes through the woods, and it's pitch black outside. The truck radio didn't work, so I was just sitting staring straight out at the road, getting hypnotized by the passing trees. Suddenly started to get an intense sensation that something is watching me through the window to my right. I started to turn my head to see what it is when my dad yells, "Don't look!" He immediately starts to hear tapping on the window right next to my face. My heart stops. Only time I ever saw fear in my dad's face. He started to pray loudly in Navajo, stare straight ahead, heart pounding, not daring to look out the window. Suddenly, the truck dips as weight falls into the bed. Whatever the F this thing is in the back right behind my head. I start to hear tapping on the window behind me. My father makes me look at him as he continues to pray. I close my eyes tight and I wish for it to be over. After a few endless minutes, the truck dips again and the tapping stops. My father says, "Tomorrow we'll ask our grandfather to say a prayer so the evil will forget our faces." English to Navajo equivalent. Drive home, lie awake in bed all night. Father and I never talk about it again. Whoa. Holy shit. Who wants to go through that experience? What the hell was in the truck? Anybody else had something like that happen? Get a hold of us and let us know, alright? That's something that we all deserve to know about. If that's going down commonly anywhere, I don't give a shit where it is. Get it to us if that's happened to you, please. That's terrifying. Ugh. Wow. Oh, here's another small book coming right up. What do we got? Steve, I want to thank you and all the members of the round table have shared their stories and ideas. I never considered that I had already had interaction with these beings. I know this is a long letter, but I feel I should give some of my own background. I grew up at the edge of the Pine Barrens in southeastern New Jersey. The Pine Barrens are currently 1.1 million acres of federal land. There are small towns and communities dispersed through the pines. The events took place in the 70s to early 80s. There were no large predators in the Pine Barrens. Starling and deer was the biggest threat, except for a few feral dogs and humans. We didn't hear about Bigfoot or other cryptids until cable TV in the mid-1970s. Except the Pine Barrens' own New Jersey Devil. So as a kid, if we didn't have enough of us to play a team sport, we explored, camped, and played in the woods, playing kick the can or manhunt, which is a large version of tag where you learn to track the other kids to bring them in, or throwing pine cones at each other. Many times, we'd yell at each other to stop chucking pine cones or acorns or pebbles into the water while we were all trying to fish, with no one taking the blame. When no one was around, I would wander for hours, sometimes overnight. I'll tell my mom where I was going and where I would camp. Where is a loose area? Which town? What side of the creek near the railroad tracks? I think you meant where there is a loose area? Using what I learned playing, I started tracking deer and other creatures in the woods. When you were wandering, you would come across small houses or farms. You were approached by pinies. These were people who their families in colonial times started in the furnace town or glass making with the white sand found in the pines. The families were paid with chits, C-H-I-T-S, that was used as cash in the town stores. They hunted and gathered to trade or sell for money that could be used in the real town. They got a bad reputation when Social Security started. They were listed as undereducated, barely human by the government. So even in the 70s and 80s, you were warned to keep away. It was a nervous situation because they wanted to know why you were in the areas they used for gathering or hunting. Once you convinced them you weren't there to do any harm, you were passing through. I would explain my parents were from the city. They didn't teach me about nature. They would ask what I saw, and I would tell them. They would explain what it was. But they warned about things in the woods. To have a tarp up and a campfire lit before dark. I guess I was around 14 when I heard a strange call. The next time I came across someone, I explained the sound. I went to mimic the call for them, and they hushed me up, telling me not to make that call and stay out of this area until fall. At 15, I heard someone tracking me off to my right, out around my 5 o'clock. I would stop, they would stop. I figured it was somebody making sure I wasn't in one of their areas. I know this wasn't smart to do, but when I would come across people walking in the woods, my teenage mind went to the hardest thing to hunt would be someone as smart as me, so I would pace them, trying not to be seen or heard. One day I went out a trail, came to the railroad tracks. I wanted to head south to cross over the creek on the railroad trestle. I was walking that way. I looked around and I was going past some that was north of where I should be. I figured I was thinking in my own head on turning myself around. I headed back going south and everything was silent. No birds, no squirrels, completely still. It felt like I was walking in the creek against the flow. I looked around, didn't see anything. I kept trying to figure out why it was still, yet heavy. I realized I was about to cross the road, but I never crossed the trestle. I somehow went north again. I followed the road home. If I was preoccupied, I didn't realize I went north. Okay, but twice that was not right. At 16, I again was walking along the train tracks, and I see a stump from a pine tree with a bush next to it. My gut said no. I looked back. There, a 4-foot-tall stump with a bush next to it. I started walking away, and my mind caught up. There can't be a stump there. It's a raised railroad bed. The tracks were no longer used, but long enough to grow a tree that size. I turned and headed back toward it, and it was not there. Jump ahead to 2014, my family went camping up by Herkimer, New York. We had a creek running behind our tent. No other campers nearby. A small bridge over the stream that led to a field with a trail to an area to mine for Herkimer diamonds. A quartz crystal that same is sorry, just a budget. Sorry, you guys. I'm doing the best I can. A quartz crystal that same is found only in that area. 4 a.m. I was awoken by large rocks being thrown in the creek. I checked the time because I thought, who lets their kids wander around this late? My next thought was some young adults camping, drinking. Thought it'd be fun. Another loud splash. I listened for laughing or talking, and I realized there are no voices. Another splash and a clunk as the rock hit the other rocks, and I never heard anyone talking or walking by. I went over by the bridge in the morning. Rocky ground, so no footprints, no cigarette butts, no beer bottles. In In 2019, my son expressed interest in hunting, so I went online and found how to hunt, not knowing what you were discussing. Only by hearing the stories you shared, suddenly all of it fell into place. I better put all the things together. Even then, they fit, but too well. I figured I was forcing them into place. Look around, not drifting into the rocks yet. It was in 2022 my family went camping again, this time near Cooperstown, New York. My son and I went to the store. My wife stayed at the campsite, and I never mentioned to my wife the strange things that had happened to me growing up, or about a Bigfoot. When my son and I got back, my wife pulled me aside. She said, "While you were gone, I kept hearing movement behind the tent. I thought it was a deer. I kept looking to see it. And I was about to walk into the woods to see if I could see it. I thought I heard walking like somebody was back there. Then you pulled in. And as soon as she walked away, I said out loud, 'If you want to bother me, okay, I know you're out there. We aren't bothering you. Stay away from my wife and son.' That night, I thought I heard the zipper of the tent. I checked to make sure my son wasn't heading off to the bathroom, but heard nothing else that night. We were supposed to stay for 2 more days, and I suggested leaving early. It was really hot, and severe thunderstorms expected both days, so we left. 2024, I went camping at Jenny Jump State Park. I set up camp. My son came out later that evening. We took a walk to Ghost Lake in the dark. We made a small fire and watched the meteor shower, and then headed to bed at 2 a.m. My son slept in the van. I slept in the tent with no rain fly. And shortly after lying down, I saw what I thought was a flashlight. I figured it was the next site over. I then realized it was right outside the tent. The light didn't shine with a beam. I would focus on it, and it would go off. Then appear on the other side of the tent or at either end. It did this for a couple of minutes, and every time I would look at it, it would flash off and reappear elsewhere. My son saw a light but thought it was just me getting ready for bed, never looked out. 2025, August 12th, Tuesday. I'm going to the same site to see if it comes back. None of my experiences can be proven to be these beings, but some of the patterns are there. Sorry for the length and errors. I started writing this in 2023, another pattern. All right, appreciate it. Okay, one word of just to get the heads up, you had a period everywhere. It was like 10-word sentences, the whole thing made it kind of difficult. So just next time, if you do give us an update, or anybody else listening, when you type us an email, read it to yourself first after you're done, all right? And see how smoothly you read it, and hammer out a couple commas. Because I know I'm good, I don't give a shit. I realize nobody's a perfect writer, I'm not. There's definitely a handful of people here that blow a gasket from it, though. Anyway, appreciate that email. I'm glad you're aware, and I'm glad you're aware of the patterns that you've learned probably through all the people here, too, right? It helps. Keep us updated. Keep us updated. Who's next? Hold on a second. Sometimes you just gotta look at things that look like they'd be out of place. That is a perfectly placed big shadow right behind a rock. Can't help it. Sometimes you just gotta look. This next email is titled Blue Orb. Hey Steve, I just watched your conversation with Jason about the orbs following the hairy man into the woods. I figured I'd throw in my own experience with them. All right, right on. I'm a 63 years old bow hunter, fisherman, and general outdoorsman, and I live in Northern Illinois, not Chicago, in caps lock. in a 165-year-old house that was originally owned by the local doctor in the community during the Civil War. Wow, that's an old house. Anyway, it's June of 2025. I was doing laundry in the basement at around 3 a.m., like I'm prone to do. There's a set of stairs leading down that basically divides the basement. One room has the washer and the dryers in the other room to the left as you come down the stairs. I was in the dryer room with my back to the doorway doing laundry things when I caught some type of movement in my periphery towards the doorway about 7 to 8 feet away. There's nothing creepy about that, is there? As I turned towards the movement, a very odd roundish ball of light about the size of a soccer ball grew in intensity and stopped in the door opening in clear view. It was kind of blue, but not really, and round, but not really. It was just there. I could now see through it, and it appeared to have dimension. It wasn't flat. It stayed right where it was for just a few seconds before going back the same direction that it came from, up the stairs, I assumed. Heard no sound or felt any sense of it being good or bad. No fear. It was just there. I've had some very strange, even unnerving experiences related to intuition throughout my lifetime, but this was physical. I saw it. It was not an image in my mind. And after 10 seconds or so, I approached the doorway cautiously and I peeked around the corner, but there's nothing there. Whatever it was had just vanished. The part that gets me is that I can't explain what it is that I saw. That really bothers me. Trying to figure it out has resulted in mostly sleepless nights in the nearly 2 months that have passed since I saw it. Was it alive? Was it a vehicle? Whatever it was, I'm convinced that it was not from this dimension. It was from someplace else. Well, that's all I got about the blue orb things. Maybe someone else has some thoughts on it as they would like to share. I love what you're doing here. I'm watching since I saw the hunting video where you thought you had sent an arrow down the mouth of an elk that showed no wound. That was actually a big moose. Best wishes to all, and remember to smile at people you don't even know. No harm in that, right? You got that right. There's no harm in that at all. That's creepy. Just the 165-year-old house and going down the basement is creepy, right? Only because of the horror theme that is similar to all the movies we've grown up watching. The basement. The eerie, dark basement. Why? Why the basement? Why old houses? Why houses in general? I don't get it. There's a lot I don't get. We'll see who else is going to chime in. I mean, we've got the blue lights in my own house, all right? Got them in my house. Why? Don't know. Have I seen them? No. Has Sarah the kids? Yes. And, speak the devil, here's another one. These are all fresh out of the pan, you guys, meaning right out of the inbox, this recent email dumps. Balls of light, a deeper understanding. What are the chances we're getting an email right after that previous email titled this? Hi Steve, I'm writing today to provide you with my discernments and experiences with the balls of light. Alright. Most would agree that they are flowing energy. And that and the shape gives hint to what they are. First, let's ask what else in our world is a ball of energy that flows in a circle pattern, aka a torus pattern. A hurricane is a good example most can relate to. It spins and travels similar to the balls of light we were speaking of, but there is much more. Most things in this world start out as a single ball of energy, including the human egg. When fertilized, the egg puts off a spark. There's videos of it on YouTube. The man who told you of the two blue balls of light also told you about the sparks that appeared when, in his other experience, they saw they turned and disappeared with gold-colored sparks. I've seen this too in person at the beach at night. I have an white ball of light fly from behind me out over the waves and ocean. It was moving pretty fast and left sparkles in the air, kind of like the Disney character Tinkerbell. I've also seen them streak other times and leave, a couple typos. I've also seen them streak other times and leave this light streak behind them. Going now back to the hurricane energy ball, it is just like a supercell thunderstorm. Both emit lots of sparks we call lightning. I've not seen the balls of light as the beach and on mountaintops, and they do some very interesting. Sorry, you guys. Both emit lots of sparks we call lightning. Hold on a minute. I'm sorry. Kind of like the Disney character Tinkerbell. I've also seen them streak other times and leave this light streak behind them. Going now back to the hurricane energy ball, that is like a supercell thunderstorm. Both emit lots of sparks we call lightning. I've seen the balls of light as the beach and on mountaintops, and they do some very interesting right before they appear as the ball of light. I'm reading it exactly as it's spelled. There's a spark seen. I have video documentation of this. A portal operates very similarly as well. Think about it in the movies when a portal opens. What is always depicted? Sparks and lightning. What about when the Terminator arrives in the ball of light with sparks all around? Things in the world repeat in design, albeit they may be bigger or smaller. Even the simple apple is in this image, and what is in the center of the apple? The genesis, the seed, the essence of the apple. What's in the center of the egg that sparks? The genesis of the human. Now, what is in the center of the portal? Well, something may come through or pass through. The genesis is something crossing the veil into our world. Now, what is in the center of the balls of light, I ask you? I honestly could go on for hours, but if this message does not spark a genesis moment in you, then maybe I'm just crazy. I've had over 100 experiences with the balls of light that are the size of a Volkswagen, mostly on a mountaintop or by the edge of flowing water. Remind me again where most people see the balls of light on the Sabe, flowing water or mountains. If you really want to understand deeply what we're talking about here, you need to look no further than a mirror. The answers are written all over us, and I can explain in detail. I would enjoy going into those details further if you choose. Daniel in South Carolina. Well, there you go. Somebody's thinking. Somebody's possibly has something figured out in their ride. With the balls of light the size of a Volkswagen. First I've heard of it described as the size of a Volkswagen. No pattern in that size here yet. Appreciate your email, man. There you go, you guys. Throw it down in the comment section below. Man, listen to that wind ripping. Oh, I picked the wrong place. I thought I was going to be in cover here, but the wind's changed directions since I first came around the point. At least I got 25 feet of chain on there, so it's not rasping my anchor rope in half. Imagine sitting here reading away and slowly drifting into the rocks and not noticing. You guys are all screaming at me, "Turn around! You're about to hit the rocks!" Can you imagine? Mark, this is Red. Hi, Steve. My name is Becky Wenshell. I live in the northeast coastal area of Cape Ann, Massachusetts. Yes, you can use my name. I'm done with hiding myself from those who don't know any better. I came across your channel about a month ago and immediately felt the truth resonating from your videos. All the stories people have shared and from your voice. Big believer in things happening at the perfect time, so I guess I was ready to hear your message. The story I'm about to recount is not a Sasquatch sighting or experience, but after hearing many of the stories of Sasquatch accompanied by orbs, I decided it may be of interest to some who may have had a similar experience. This is quite the ball of light themed morning today, isn't it? I was about 22 years old. I'm now 60 years old, so this is in 1987. I was working in a residence for people with cognitive disabilities and would do 2 or 3 overnights a week as part of my regular schedule. This particular residence was in Salem, Massachusetts. Well, I've been sensitive to people's energy all my life and felt connected to more than what meets the eye, and knowing Salem is known for its witch trials and other paranormal occurrences, I did not ever expect to have that experience I had one night, never to be repeated. When I did an overnight at this residence for 4 cognitively disabled women, I would sleep in the staff bedroom, which was the first bedroom on the right at the top of the stairs on the 2nd floor. It was a monk-like room that was small and narrow, with only a single bed pushed against the left-hand wall when you entered, with the head of the bed by a window at the other end of the room. When you walked into the room, immediately to your right was a closet door, then a bureau, then the outside wall had the window and the head of the bed. I'd slept there over 100 times without incident, and this one night had nothing of significance to mark it until hitting the hay. Went to bed per usual, but at some point in the night I woke with a startle and felt an immense pressure on my chest, making it somewhat difficult to breathe. I felt as though my body had become rigid as I was on my back and my arms are to my sides. I couldn't really move and I was petrified as I suddenly saw a large, green, and pulsating, glowing orb, the color of fresh spring grass, hovering by the closet door to the left of the foot of the bed. It hovered there in midair, just pulsating. I looked at it in terror as I still felt the pressure on my chest. I thought it was going to do something to me. I laid there staring at it as it pulsated, feeling paralyzed and unable to do anything. I don't know how long I remained in that state, as it could have been 10 to 30 minutes, but after a good long while, I became so tired of being in that tense position, I said to myself, well, if it's going to kill me, I think it would have done so by now, and since I can't move, I might as well pretend it isn't there. So that's what I did. I turned my head towards the wall away from the orb, closed my eyes, and hoped I might open them again in a few hours to live another day. That's exactly what happened. I woke up the next morning. I felt fine, although a little tired. I asked a psychic once about what it might have been and was told it might have been... What? I asked a psychic once about what it might have been and was told it may have been working on a heart abnormality to heal it, so I'd be available in the future. To do what? I don't know. I've had heart palpitations all my life, so perhaps something about this is true. Since that night, I've definitely become a member of the Club of No Return. I've been forever changed and seen many different phenomena that I have captured on film. Many of them have been orbs. I don't understand yet what relationship the orbs have with the Sabe, but I'm interested to hear more people's stories, and hopefully my story will resonate with somebody. I've attached several photos of entities and orbs as an example of what I've been able to capture over the years to show the energies around us. I have better photos inaccessible at the moment, so hopefully these will serve. But first you have to look closely up in the left-hand corner at that strange entity of a floating head/face. I did a survival weekend through the Tom Brown organization with my kids back in 2011 in New Hampshire. Happened to be a full moon Halloween weekend at a campsite area near an Indian burial ground. I could feel it but couldn't see it with my eyes, but I took a picture anyway, and this is what I got. The second one is on Thanksgiving. I've been taking photos of orbs every evening for a year right outside my house in the Cape Ann area of Massachusetts. This is a beautiful example of how I do believe the orbs of a kind of energy are present, especially when our energy is of higher frequency, in gratitude and joyful. The third picture, again in Cape Ann area of Massachusetts, near my house. It's hard to see, but look in the rooftop of the second house. On the right top part of the picture, there is an entity literally siphoning off the energies of the humans in the household. It looks like an embryonic or a placenta connection to the house, as though the energy is collecting sustenance from the humans within the house. Bit of a bold statement. You know, you'd have to talk to those people in the house and see if they felt their energy being drained too, right? I haven't even looked at the pictures yet. Lastly, Jean Ang, A-N-G, is an energy healer and teacher who held an event in a church in Andover, Massachusetts. The orbs were overwhelmingly present for this energetic event. I apologize for the length of the email and the fact that it is not directly related to Sabe Sasquatch. However, I do believe that all these phenomena are in the same way connected, and felt in sharing it may add to a piece of the puzzle. I can't tell you how grateful I am for your channel and your unabashed declarations of freedom and self-determination you bring to the conversation. We all need to hear more of this and know it is more than okay to practice the same. You're a healthy example for us all. Thanks again for all you do, and God bless you, Sarah, and all your dear beings that surround you. Keep it going, Becky. I will, Becky. Appreciate you sending that in. It's tough for me to look at these. I got reflections on my phone, and obviously the boat's whipping around, but I'll post these up in the video when I get back to the dock, alright? And let everybody have a look, see. What are the balls of energy? You guys? Wouldn't that be amazing if a ball of energy just came whipping in the boat and then hovered right here in front of you all and beside my head? Maybe give us a little hint or a heads up. What's this? What's next? I'm gonna read one more. I'm gonna get going. So you know what I think I'm gonna do this afternoon? I'm gonna go in the woods. I'm gonna bring some trail cameras with me and I'm gonna go get some big, huge bull elk on those cameras. For what it's worth is the title of this email. Steve just called me Sam for this email, as that's as good a name as any. Okay, Sam. I've been an avid outdoorsman all my life. And I've always felt there are things in the woods that can't be explained by schoolbook science. My grandparents and great-grandparents who grew up in rural Mississippi in the late 1800s and early 1900s always referred to boogers in the woods. They always admonished us kids to be in before dark so the boogers wouldn't get us. I wish now that I'd asked them what they were referring to as a booger. It's always hard for me to say the word booger, only because I was raised with a booger being a snot ball. Right? So it's kind of, every time I read about the boogers, it kind of makes me half-ass laugh in the back of my head, right? Boogers. Snot balls. As a kid growing up in the early 70s, sleeping with the windows in the house open, I can remember being woken by screams. It sounded like a woman being brutalized. The screams are always chalked up to being a panther, but even after searching the internet, I still haven't found a recording of a panther scream that sounded like those I heard as a kid. While hunting from an early age, I've experienced the feeling of, you should leave now, or, if you stay, you'll die, while being alone in the woods many times. And yes, I'm a dumbass who wouldn't leave, yet I'm still here to tell about it. That feeling of being watched and uneasiness, that I was not alone, just always thought was a kid's fear of the unknown in the forest. Back in the mid-'80s, my father and I saw what could only be described as a huge hyena running across a field in the gray of dawn just before sunrise. Even though we definitely don't have hyenas native to Mississippi. This creature, however, was running in a very unusual gait, on all fours with its front end much higher than its rear end. It was large. I can remember thinking it would weigh at least 200 or 300 pounds. Yet again, we chalked it up to, oh well, who knows, and continued with the day's hunt. In 2017, while driving from work in the same wee hours of the morning, 2 to 3 a.m., I observed something freaking huge and blacker than black on the side of the road next to a pine thicket. The thing appeared to be crouched, much like I was taught in the military when moving over a fence or a small open area, as if it was trying to minimize its upright profile. It appeared to be 3 to 4 feet taller than the 4-foot-tall fence, even crouched down. I only saw this thing for maybe 2 to 3 seconds, so No specific details other than what looked like arms outstretched either side of a massive human-shaped form. The red-eye reflection is probably the only reason I noticed it, and it was reflection, not glow. I, for some reason, had the thought in my mind, that's a Brahma bull, and kept driving. A few seconds later, I thought to myself, there's not been any cows on that property in probably 20 years. And never any Brahma cows. Never really thought much more about that intrusive thought until I hear story after story about mind speak. I've heard bipedal walking sounds many times, sitting in a deer stand, waiting for the sun to come up, or when coming out of the woods after dark, but again didn't think much about it. As in my mind, I was the apex predator with my rifle. There was nothing living in the woods in Mississippi that we're taught about that can absorb a 7mm mag without being discouraged, right? I refuse to let these things rob me of my love for the outdoors. I won't gladly tell anyone who wants to listen about my experiences. As a result, I've had numerous people respond with their encounters with unusual things. I even have one friend that related seeing one of the upright walking dog abominations when he was a child, but that's his story to tell, not mine. I still live in rural Mississippi. I have no desire to live somewhere that isn't rural, but I have had opportunities to spend time in nature in places all over the world, some much nicer than others. I taught my kids to enjoy nature, but to always be prepared for the unknown and unexpected, and to always trust their gut feelings. The gut feeling is never wrong. You're here, and thank God for you teaching your kids that one. Thanks for your platform and openness. Your channels helped me with my puzzle, although it is still far from complete. There are pieces that I just can't place between my religious beliefs, the Bible, personal experiences, and where exactly these things fit in. But the picture for me at least is becoming clearer. We need more people willing to call out the bullshit being force-fed to our society that seems intent on turning males into pussies instead of men. Keep up the good work respectfully. And then a note for me at the end. Okay, gotcha, man. Fully agree. Gotcha. Alright, appreciate that email. I always get really stoked in a way. I just like, yes. When I hear people encouraging their children to focus on their gut feelings. They need to be taught that above anything in this lifetime, as far as I'm concerned, right out of the gate. As soon as you can start getting that across to them, that, as far as I'm concerned, is such a huge lesson. Don't you think? Imagine that if we had a whole next generation that went with their gut instincts above all. Imagine how much bullshit would be rubbed out and not get any attention and been easily kicked off to the side. If we had a whole big new wave of new generation being raised a lot more by their gut instinct. Anyway, I gotta get out of here. I get a little concerned about my boat being tossed all around with such a short chunk of anchor in the bottom here. Hopefully I get this sucker off the bottom and I can get it back to the dock. Get this delivered to all of you. Encourage all you to come forward and email your truth to sharemystory@howtohunt.com, which all you have been anyway, but whatever, I say it every day, or when I get a chance. And I'll be back shortly. If I can, I might even pack a camera. Forgot my frickin' day pack. Oh, I don't think I have to pack. I'm gonna have to get a piece of string and tie all my trail cameras together. I think I got six cameras I want to throw out there, but I usually like to take my big Canon camera with my big telephoto lens and tripod in case I see, those elk out in the river and stuff and want to film them. Get good film of them. Anyway, here we go. All these fishermen out here fishing off to the side of me, probably, they know my boat. They're wondering what the hell I'm doing in here, right? I'll throw down a few pictures of the fire that's preventing me to get home and preventing people from coming out here. Until you can check that out. It was 35 degrees in town yesterday. Sarah said it was actually too hot to go in the pool because the air was so hot. And now it's all smokier than hell, apparently. What is 35 degrees? Hold on a minute. That's over 100, isn't it? 35. Hold on a minute. $95 degrees. Oh, that's it. A lot of you people in the south are going to go, what, 95? That's a picnic, right? Yeah, well, not for us knuckleheads. Oh, my knees. Here we go. All right, I'm out of here. Oh, I shall return. Probably tomorrow. See how it goes. If everybody's safe and having fun and doing what they love today. Or tomorrow. Or soon, right? Share my story at howtohunt.com. Back later.